Hi, I'm Ruthie Norden,
And I'm Janet Syas Nitsick.
and today we are doing the seventh and final video in this Stages of Writing series. And this is number 7, because it is.
Because it's perfect.
Yeah, there you go. And we're perfect. We're doing this perfectly.
If only we could tell you the backstory on that.
This is our third version of the same thing. But let's see. This is we're going to talk about the pros and cons
Right, exactly.
of self-publishing. And you know, self-publishing is not for everyone.
Exactly.
And we do not recommend it for everyone. Like Janet prefers to go with a publisher, and I think we have an awesome small publisher.
We do have a nice, awesome.
Parchment and Plume is really good, and but she only does romances. That's something to be aware of. But let's see, a big thing. I think, if you don't want to take care of formatting, you don't want to worry about editing, you don't want to worry about uploading the book yourself or worrying about the cover and all that, that could be a great thing for a publisher. And also, maybe you don't want to do all the record keeping on it. Maybe because the publisher, at the end of the, January, February, they'll hand you the 1099
right,
with all the royalties you earned. So you can just take that in, Whereas if you self-publish, well, Amazon will send you a 1099 for every country. Then you got to keep track of Barnes & Noble, Kobo, iBooks, wherever, it's Smashwords,
right,
and wherever else, maybe Drafted Digital and all these other things. And you have to make sure. Now, yes, they do give you 1099s. They're supposed to. Sometimes I have not gotten them. So you have to make sure you're keeping careful records of all your payments and looking in there. Whereas with the publisher, I would say, hey, there's my 1099, that's it.
Right, exactly. It just gives you, a traditional publisher does give you, or even a small press, gives you a layer of protection. Yeah.
It does, and if you're not comfortable doing this yourself, I would say a publisher would be good.
Right.
But if you're more, more willing to learn what do they say, the tools of the trade, more willing to do stuff yourself, and it does take more time, to do this yourself.
Right, and
then I'd say self-publishing might be for you, especially if you like control, and I love control.
Right.
Even with the publisher, one of the reasons I went with this particular publisher is because I knew she would let me keep control of my content,
right,
and also a big say in I wanted a big say in my covers and everything.
They don't tell you how to write the book. You can write the book
Well,
that
and see,
you want.
some publishers are more willing to work with you than others, so
Right.
That's something. But I would consider that a big pro to self-publishing is your full control. You get control over exactly what you put in the book, and you get control over where you publish it at. You get control over your cover, and your characters and everything. Because you were saying that there was someone with a publisher, and there was like the cover didn't quite match up.
See, they don't sometimes with a small press you can get input on your cover.
Yeah.
So
and that is a benefit to small press.
It's a small traditional publisher. But if you've got a big,
and she goes with a bigger one.
She had a book, and it had the man on the cover and she's a romance writer, had him in pajamas. There wasn't one scene that had anything about pajamas. There wasn't anything in the book that connected with pajamas. So that's your disadvantage with a traditional. Even though you get the graphic design and you get all that, they'll do that for you, but they may not reflect your book totally.
Right. Or I heard someone had the wrong hair color.
Yeah.
For the character or something, because I think they said redheads didn't sell, so they put on a guy with brown hair, and I think he even had like a mustache or something. But in the cover, he just had like the brown hair, and
because they're not reading. A lot of times, too, a main on one of the big houses will also reuse covers, and so you may get a cover.
Well, that would kind of make the stock.
Yes.
Because in self-publishing, you often will use stock photos, and it has the same model. You see the same kind of covers. Our models repeated. Well, some people it bothers. It doesn't bother me as long as you use other elements in the cover to make it unique.
Right. Exactly.
But so I guess that's not really much of a difference, is it? Because I've seen some of the same models, and even like some of the smaller presses that you're talking about, like the same models and stuff.
Right. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah. I would say one of the things about self-publishing, if you talk about Amazon and the different methods, you can go there.
Right. Because with when you self-publish, you get to decide whether to go exclusive with them or to go broad. But there are some small publishers that will go exclusive with Amazon.
Okay.
And I know of a writer who does have like a couple small presses in Kindle Unlimited.
Okay.
So But if you're self-publishing, you decide to do that. Well, if you're with a publisher, maybe the publisher just decided to do that. You had no choice over that. And I would think also with self-publishing, you decide the deadlines. When you're going to be able to do something. It's easier to push back a deadline if you're self-publishing because it's easier. Although there are some publishers who will work with you on deadlines.
Exactly.
I mean, some will. But there is maybe a little more flexibility. But as a self-published author, I would say don't use this as an excuse to be lazy. Just because no one's holding your feet to the fire, don't say, well, now I can go watch a movie and totally.
Well, and you also have to think about that too. Is if you're too far off on your deadline, that people that you may be told that you're going to have this book out, I might be looking for it, and then they're going to be very disappointed if they're not having it. I think the better thing to do is just say spring of such and such
time frame, and then always say tentative.
Tentative planning, something.
Real life always pops in.
Keywords that you're not stuck to that deadline because you never know what can come up.
Unless it's on pre-order and you already have it done.
Right, exactly.
Now, if you do that, and see, that's another thing. If you're self-publishing, you can decide to pre-order your books now, and that wasn't something open to self-published authors.
Right, right. Yeah, it's just whatever you want to do. The Select, it gives you 90 days in this Select
right,
and Amazon.
That's KDP Select, and that's if you want to go exclusive with Amazon. That does give you 90 days you have to be in there, but you have to remember to take the book out. And because I think it auto-renews.
Okay.
Unless you make sure you get
and then they give you some higher promotion, right, with that.
Right.
And that kind of thing. So that is an advantage. The disadvantage is if your sales are not that good there, you cannot take that out of there until that 90 days is up.
Right.
The 90 days might be the first part of your launch of your book, and sometimes that is your better time because you're launching and you're releasing at that time. That doesn't mean that's always the case. I'm just saying that can often be. So you've got this time over here, and you haven't had any other avenue. And it's kind of like the old adage, do you want to put all your eggs in one basket? That kind of thing.
Right. And for how long and stuff like that. I was going to say that. I can't remember.
What do you do, Ruth?
I distribute everywhere.
Yeah.
Everywhere I possibly can. Amazon, I don't know about other places, but I know Amazon kind of favors books the first 30 days. Mm-hmm. So it kind of gives it a little extra boost, even if you're not in Select. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Again, I was going to say something.
One thing I was going to ask you, do you think it's got as much weight as it did when it first started this?
What, Select?
The Select.
No.
See, I'm thinking that it...
And I'm finding that for some authors, it does really well. It doesn't do well for all the authors, and I think there's a misconception out there that Amazon Select is kind of a magic bullet. It's not. And Kindle Limited is not a magic bullet either. I guess I would just say build up your email list so you have people when you have a new release so you can get this out. And we'll talk more about this in other series.
Right.
Because we're working on like the writing, the business side of writing and stuff like that. But I think there are ways you can kind of buffer yourself, against having to go exclusive. Yeah. I don't know if you're starting out. I don't know. Today, starting out, would I do Kindle Limited? I don't know.
Yeah.
I know right now there's no way. Just because some people at any time, for whatever reason, get their book removed. And if you only have Amazon you're relying on, and let's say that book is removed for whatever reason, how are you going to make your money for
Exactly.
Whereas if you have it in different channels, at least you have a chance of kind of...
Well, and it buffers it during the dispute or during the problem. If
something comes... Because this stuff does happen.
Yeah. And
we won't go into specifics on this particular
thing. But that's the other thing, too. All that stress comes to the self-published author because they have to worry about it. Right. That is one advantage of
it's
having
one con of self-publishing is you're kind of all by yourself.
Because you have a traditional, and they should be fighting for you instead of you having to.
A good one will fight for you.
Yeah, and so you won't take all the weight. Plus, sometimes with the label publisher, their little people won't be apt to take it as much, to come at you as much because you do have that label. But there's just cons and things like that. You do make more royalties, right, Ruth, with a self-publishing, and you're always going to have more limited on your royalties with a traditional publisher. Even if you have a small press and they give you more, they're not going to give you what you get from self-publishing your own. Yeah. So.
And we're going to have to wrap it up to keep
exactly.
Okay.
We don't want a 666. We want to keep it at 7.